Good morning, Steve here on a Monday morning and running for 90 seconds and walking for 30. It's been my pattern lately. So how are all of you? We are suddenly in a wet period. I just happened to find a couple of dry minutes to get out this morning. It is pretty humid and storms are forecast for later today, and that's going to be our pattern all week. I was able to get out Saturday for the longest run I've had since I've started running in 2012, and that was 7.3 miles. Legs were tired by the end, just not used to that, but it felt good otherwise. I was a bit stiff the rest of the day and felt more back to normal yesterday and feeling all right today. So I'm out at the baseball, soccer, football fields. And on Saturday, there was an event here called the Sarah Parvin Soccer Fest. Sarah Parvin was a young girl, 9 or 11, who passed away from ovarian cancer. She loved playing soccer, and so I think her parents most likely started a foundation, and they have a couple of events every year to raise awareness and maybe raise funds for ovarian cancer research. And the Sarah Parvin Soccer Fest is a 24-hour soccer tournament. I don't know if there are grand champs at the end or if they just play. So it was a packed little community on Saturday. As I was here earlier in the morning, I think I started around 6:45 or so. There was a tent and camper and motorhome city that had popped up. And again, that's a 24-hour event. I'm not sure the exact start time of the play, because I was coming through here at the end of my run around 9, and there's no formal play yet. The weather Saturday morning was gorgeous. Low humidity, cool, a breeze. And then the rain came, and it came.
Walk.
And that's our pattern. The rain comes, and it comes hard. So we had 3/4 of an inch that I emptied out this morning, but that was 2 days worth. So Saturday and Sunday. And it comes mostly in short bursts. I think I still see coolers and such left behind from Saturday on the fields. I read the most interesting article before going to bed last night. It was a testimonial of a woman who suffered all kinds of maladies, from asthma to irregularity with her monthly time or nothing at all. And she diligently tracked what she was doing. Morning. From especially her eating habits. Nothing that she was prescribed. Everything had the doctors mystified. They couldn't connect any dots. So she started trying various dietary approaches to eliminate this or that. And the interesting thing is, she eventually found carnivorism, and everything she'd been struggling with all her life started to subside. She'd had lots of ups and downs. Some things worked, some things didn't. Some meat worked, some meat didn't. So I would conclude this is not going to do the same for everybody. However, her list of ailments was, I was going to say really impressive, but really discouraging for her to persist and keep trying year after year after year. It really said something with her tenacity. Now, I think she found the ribeye to be the steak that was best for her. And I don't know that she only eats steak, but it still was an interesting read. And my thought is, what are the mechanisms behind something like that working? What's behind it all? I don't think she really cared. She doesn't want to know, hey, this makes this happen in my body.
What?
And that doesn't. All she cared about was finding a workable solution. So I think she is 46. She had to cut back on certain, maybe because of meat consumption, her muscles started becoming way too well defined, even though she really wasn't working out so much.
Run.
I kind of bring this up, well, just because it was interesting, but also I've seen, and I'm trying to find it now, somebody saying, if you have...
Time 12 minutes 17 seconds. Distance 1 mile.
If you have arthritis, there is a carnivore study going on, and then it links you to something on YouTube. And it's from a well-respected Professor Tim Noakes of South Africa. So, trying to see if I can find that. Now, I would never convince my wife, who wants to be vegan, or thinking for my heart health that this would be good for me. So, but some people have found relief from age-old pain, and that's both they've had the pain for ages, or because they're old age, they have pain, they found relief. So, interesting to ponder.
What?
I think my wife wouldn't be utterly opposed if you could find a steak for the price of hamburger meat. But alas, steak is, I don't know, I don't even know what a good price, it's been so long. 13 something a pound or 14 something a pound. I don't know if my wife intentionally avoids buying steaks. She'll buy chicken. And I've convinced her it's okay to buy chicken with skin on it. And pork. But the thing is, you don't need the leanest cuts because then you're getting just too much protein. Now, I'm conscientious that for her, as a cancer survivor, too much protein can be a bad thing. It can, or possibly can, be linked to just not being the right nutrient to have too much of. So the other interesting thing about this woman's testimony was she was working with a high-fat, low-carb diet, or low-carb, high-fat, and found that vegetable sources of fat just weren't doing it for her, but animal sources of fat were. So really interesting. It'd be interesting to see if studies can find out what's going on and if there really can be some benefit. It almost sounds like she eats only steak, or I've seen other people who are only eating, I don't know if it's steak or just meat, but trying to get good cuts of steak. So some people are saying just steak and water. Now, I've heard that the real dense sources of nutrients are in the organ meats, but she had a problem with them. They caused other issues for her. Again, that's why I think individual experience. People need to be able to read how their own body is responding. And she had been a journaler for years of what she ate, how her body responded. I retweeted this last night, but couldn't tell you who it was. Off the top of my hat.
Walk.
Appropriate. I'm in a crosswalk. I left my socks behind this morning, and I found that a great benefit that socks provide is that when little pieces of sand get into your shoes, they give a little buffer. So I keep stopping and emptying out little grains of something or other.
Run.
But it's not going to bother me so much for this short run today. Yeah, there's part of the article that appealed to me was, so a couple years ago I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in the right foot. And then I've got whatever's going on in my toes. It doesn't bother me while I'm running. Sometimes the arthritis, I can feel it. Like I know it's there. It's not bothersome. And it's great during the warm weather. so much less pain. So anyway, it made me think back to that study. Yeah, if they subsidized your grocery bill and said it's a 2-week study, I think my wife would be all in. Whenever we go out to restaurants, I never order the steak because it's just too expensive for our budget. Sorry, I'm out on a busy road now. Need to dash back through the park. I would have run through the park except for that part about the little grains of sand and such getting in my shoes. I suppose I can weather the rest of them, so once I come up to the next access to the park, I'll take advantage of that. In the meantime, this commute brought to you by Broad Street, Quakertown. Or known as Route 313. So I've been enjoying listening to Anthony and JD doing a little bit of listening back in time. And enjoying their banter. I think they probably seem more natural in recording because, I mean, who talks to themselves while running? But if you're talking to another physical person, well, that's different.
Walk.
The other thing I noticed is if I listen to them with headphones on, they are in stereo. So I'm curious as to how they achieve that. They're using a device and not a phone, and a device that has
Run.
dual speakers. Be interested to know, just out of curiosity. Well, this should be an interesting week. Working Monday through Thursday. We have maybe Friday morning. I usually work Friday mornings, but I'm not sure yet. We were planning to go away to the shore, and our Airbnb got canceled. And all the other options are just too expensive. So we are planning day trips, and if the weather holds, we will try a day trip to the beach. Originally, we were planning to get away August 4th, but my mother-in-law has surgery on a tumor on her spine. It's pretty delicate. It could help, it could hurt,
Walk.
or it could do nothing. So my wife wanted to make sure that she was around, just to be sure that somebody was around to help her mom, depending on how things worked out. Even when she had surgery on this before, the post-surgery
Run.
care and handling of her was not fun to go through. The hospital sent her home despite not having a rehab facility to send her to. She
Time
fell.
24 minutes 22 seconds. Distance 2 miles.
She fell in her home multiple times, was hospitalized. The rehab people said, well, let's see how you're doing. Can you walk down the hall? And she, being of the generation of determination, she's like, I sure can. And she gave it everything she got. And they said, you're doing great. Go home. And then she fell again. So, and my wife is very concerned about how things play out. Now, if left alone, things will digress where she would probably be wheelchair bound.
Walk.
This process could speed that up. I just don't know. So, and she was having knee and hip issues for years. Finally decided to do something about it, and then in some test they did a upper body scan and found
Run.
this tumor that was growing on her spine. It's benign, but it's troublesome. It's just causing all kinds of trouble. So, all right, the last portion of my run this morning, just trying to loosen up after what for me was a very long run on Saturday. And I feel good today. I may have mentioned before, but I am trying to do more stretching because not stretching hasn't helped. If I stretch immediately following a run, I usually recover better. So it's important that I have some lead time afterwards to be able to do that. Wait, lead time, what's that? Time afterwards anyway. It's on the lee side of time.
Walk. Workout paused. Workout stopped.
And here we stopped. The other thing going on today, we got a phone call last night from the lady who coordinated the Chinese students for us a couple weeks back. They have a group of college-age students, and they have ESL, English as a second language courses from 9 to noon each day this week. Their church is holding a vacation Bible school, and normally they hold that outdoors. But the weather is such that outdoors doesn't work this week. So she called in a bit of a bind and said, do you have space at your church we could consider using as a backup? So I had to check with various individuals. It's always good to communicate and say what's going on, and we found space. So I don't know that it's a sure thing, but we'll find out this morning around 9 o'clock. 19 college students from China. I think it said 11 girls from Japan, but I'm not sure if that's also college age. So we have a kind of a small, well, it's called the music room. It's where choir practice and things like that used to take place. It's been different things over the years. And so it's going to be classrooms this week. Yeah, last night I was watching the radar. It looked like JD was getting hammered by storms. And I woke up, I saw that it was not raining locally, and looked at the radar and zoomed out a little bit, and it looked like JD had been hammered with storms. So he probably has a nice full rain gauge today. So I'd be curious to know what his totals were, because he seems to be right in the path of where it just keeps dumping and dumping and dumping. I'm not sure how close Anthony is to him. So JD's near York. Yeah, anyway, just curious. One of these days, I need to meet up with that crew. See if I can keep up. And he sounds a little speedier than I certainly can be. So on his own, it sounds like he opens up the gates a little bit and does a nice run. For me, well, I don't open up the gates so I can have a nice run. But anyway, hey, maybe I should become a carnivore. Check it out. So I hope you are all having a good beginning of your week. We'll post this. I know Carlos will put something out there, so thank you, Carlos, for that. And we will catch up again as soon as possible. I don't know if I'm going to attempt, well, we'll just have to see what the weather's like. I'm not in for a soaking rain, but better a soaking rain this time of year than October, November, December, and such. So, snow, okay. Cold rain, not as much. So, until next time, this is Steve, Quakertown, PA. Bye-bye.